Tough day, yeah. Obviously not in a great position. Obviously it's been quite challenging. Obviously, watching what's going on and Australia getting ahead of the game and putting us under pressure. Of course, that's never great sitting there and watching that. So something for us to take away and try and learn from and find solutions that we can come back tomorrow and sort of impact the game.
The way Australia were able to manage the timings, just keeping you out there on your feet for so long and then bowling under lights, was it inevitable that the guys would lose a bunch of wickets up top? The timing wasn't in your favour at all? No,
I don't think it's inevitable. Of course, nothing is inevitable in this game. I think we try and manufacture situations. Of course, you want to be bowling as close to twilight and under lights with the ball that is as hard as possible, and they did that really well. That's full credit to them. They've done it and put us in a tricky position. But I thought we got off to a good start. We sort of pushed back quite nicely, and then obviously then started to lose a couple of wickets, and momentum built, and obviously made it quite challenging towards the back end.
Can you put your finger on quite why Australia's last couple of batsmen, tail enders, were able to outscore and outlast the best batters you've got?
I think the situations of the game is very, very different at that point. Our bowlers have been in the field for best part of 100 overs. Come the back end. In the heat, majority of today, obviously in the sun. So of course that makes it more challenging when you've got then an advantage of a total on the board and a team you can put under pressure in the conditions that, as we talked about already. Things fall into your favour and make it work. But fair play. They worked hard for that situation and made it tricky for our bowlers and made it tricky for our batters as well.
Stephen, Lawrence and Andrew.
Marcus, as someone who's played a lot of Test cricket and played Test cricket in this country, what do you make of the way that England batters seem to find ways to get out to playing drives and picking up?
Look, I think we're trying to play the way that we want to play, and we want to try and utilise that in the best possible fashion. It doesn't always get it right, of course. And maybe, it's this game here, we got a total on the board which we thought was pretty good in the first innings. Perth was unique, it was different, obviously different pitch. And then we've been put under pressure here for the second innings of the game. So I don't think you should be looking too much necessarily at what the guys are trying to do. Well, of course, we're trying to apply pressure. We're trying to put bowlers off their length. And we've done that really well in periods of time in the time that this team has been together. It's been tested so far, and we'll keep working at trying to make that better.
You just said the way that you want to play. Is the way that you want to play giving you the best chance of winning matches in this country?
Well, I think you've got to have a style of play that you sort of stick to, don't you? Of course, you want to adapt and you want to be conditions dependent on what that is. Of course it is, but we've built the way that we want to build the team, and trust in the guys that we have that to do in the team, that we are good enough to do that. We've been put under pressure in various places in the last two games, and of course that's been challenging. So we're always trying to respect the situation, respect the game, and learn and be better next time we get that chance.
Lawrence, go ahead.
Marcus, I understand what you're saying, but were there discussions after Perth specifically about driving on the up in Australia? And what do you think when you see two of the top three getting out in exactly that way this evening?
No discussions took place about driving on the up. I think, there's no need to have a knee-jerk reaction from what was a tough pitch in Perth. You still practice in the fashion that you believe is going to work when you go into the game, and that has suited us well in various conditions. And we're trying to make that work. Of course, we're adapting all the time. Players are going out there in the middle with responsibility to adapt to those conditions and make it better so that we get the total on the board. It's been challenging, obviously, today, as we talked about conditions and situation of the game. But we're always hoping to be better and learn from what we're doing.
Andrew, and then we'll finish with George.
What was it playing to Mitchell's start today? Because it seemed like you're quite content to give him the single he didn't really want to taken you at the time. What was the plan?
Well, the field was set accordingly to, look, I think they were trying to allow him to take the single and do what he wanted to do. We were then trying to bowl in a way that we were going to hopefully force an error and cause a mistake. It didn't necessarily happen in the fashion that we wanted it to do. As we talked about already, the bowlers being a bit more tired at that stage, but nonetheless, he played well. Credit to him how he went about his business, and he made it tricky for us, and got Australia to a position where they are now. So fair play.
And finally, George on this side.
I think everyone would accept the world's changed, and we're not going to have 3 Shield games a month before the first test anymore. But in retrospect, do you think there's anything that could have been done to make the team a bit more prepared going into the series?
Preparation is not the question for me at all. I don't think we're very happy with the preparation that we've used and what we've had. This question comes up all the time, and it's the same answer: is that this is the way that tours are nowadays. It's not unique for us coming here to Australia this trip that we haven't played 3 Shield games like you'd expect we'd have done 20, 30 years ago. Not that made any difference. So, it's the same when Australia come to England. It's the same when we go to India. It's the same when Pakistan come to England. There's not the preparation games that used to take place. So I think players are aware of that and adapt and practice accordingly to try and get themselves into situations of games. Of course, when you look at the situation here now, it puts you under the pressure, but it's not the reason that we've come into the games in the situations we are.
Okay, thank you, everyone.